As we have already seen, when oligopoly firms collude, they earn greater profit. The price is increased and the quantity is decreased. So the quantity, which is industry output, is fixed at the monopoly quantity, and the profits are shared among the oligopoly firms. Game theory suggests that if the competitors cannot detect cheating, they will choose to violate the collusion and increase the output so that their profit can be increased at the cost of competitors. So this will create a situation similar to prisoner's dilemma. Let us look at that situation. Suppose there are two prisoners, prisoner A and prisoner B. If both of them are silent, they will get 6 months imprisonment. But if one of them confesses, suppose A confesses, then he is set free and the other one gets 10 years. Instead of 6 months, his or her imprisonment increases to 10 years. Similarly, if B confesses, then A gets 10 years and B goes free. But if A can detect that B is also cheating and both of them confesses, in that case both gets 2-year imprisonment, which is higher than 6 months. So now both of them are worse off as compared to the situation where both of them were silent. Similar situation can be seen in the case of oligopoly firms. If both firm A and firm B are honoring their contract collusion, then both of them will earn economic profit. But if one of them breaches the contract and cheats, it can increase its economic profit and the other company will have economic loss. So at the cost of company B, company A can increase the economic output, economic profit. Similarly, if firm B cheats, it can earn increase economic profit while A will have economic loss. But if A can detect that B is also cheating and both of them breaches the collusion, then they earn zero economic profit. So now both of the firms are worse than the situation when they were honoring the contract. So this is the dilemma which firms may have, that if they cheat, another firm also get to know about it, then both of the economic profits will become zero. According to game theory, the companies would like to be in Nash equilibrium. So if firm A and firm B both are honoring the contract, they earn 150. If one cheats, it will get 200 and profit of other firm will become 50. But if both of them are cheating, they earn only 100. So this is a situation worse than when both of them are honoring the contract. The collusions will be more successful when there are only fewer firms. If there are more firms, the collusion becomes unstable. If the products are homogeneous, then also there are more chances of collusion being successful. If the cost structures of the companies are similar, if there are severe retaliation for cheating among the group, then also collusion will be more stable, more successful. And if there are firms outside the agreement which are not creating much competition, in that case also collusion will be successful. But if there are a lot of firms which are outside the agreement and creating a lot of competition, then collusion might not survive. Now let us move to the next concept, which is dominant firm oligopoly. There might be a situation in the market where one company is dominant and it is a low cost producer. Because of that, it will be able to produce most of the output and can sets the market price. Since it is the one who is producing maximum quantity at the low cost, it can fix the price which other companies will follow. So let us see in the graph. This DF is dominant firm. Let us look at the marginal cost curve and marginal revenue curve. They are cutting at this point. Let us look at the quantity. This is the quantity which dominant firm will produce. And let us look at the demand curve for dominant firm. At this quantity, let us look at the demand curve. The price is this P. So this is the price which has been set by the dominant firm. Since the dominant firm is selling at this price, even the other firms will also be forced to sell at the same price. So suppose this is the marginal cost curve which is higher than the dominant firm. This is marginal cost curve for some other common firm for which the marginal cost is higher, but they also have to sell at the same price. So they have to produce at lower quantity. So this situation is called dominant firm oligopoly. Let us move to the next slide. Monopoly market structure, in which there are barriers to entry which discourages any new player from entering into the market. These barriers could be economies of scale, which is a case of natural monopoly, where the company is producing such large quantity that per unit cost comes down significantly. That is the case of economies of scale. This cannot be achieved by a firm which is entering the market now. Second barrier to entry could be government licensing and legal barriers, which stops new companies from entering the market. And third is resource control. Suppose the existing firm have full control over the resources, then a new firm cannot enter the market. The price setting could be single price or it could be price discrimination. Single price, where for all the customers the price is same. Price discrimination is a situation where we have different prices for different segment of customers. So in a case of single price monopolistic firm faces downward sloping demand curve as usual, and it must reduce the price to increase the sales. So marginal revenue is going to be less than the price. Let us see in the graph. So this is the marginal revenue curve. Marginal revenue curve is cutting the marginal cost curve at this point in time. So this will determine the quantity, and for the price we will look at the demand curve. So this is the price P naught. If we compare with the average total cost, which is cutting here, this is the average total cost. So the price which is above average total cost will generate an economic profit. So this is the economic profit generated by the company. Now let us look at two cases, one with the single price and the second one with the price discrimination. So if there is a single price monopoly without any price discrimination, then this is going to be the profit. The marginal cost curve suppose is equal to average total cost curve. So they are cutting at this point. So quantity is determined by this point, and for price we have to look at the demand curve. This is demand curve. So price is going to be 100. So whatever is gained above 70 is your profit. So it was say $2,400 in this case. But if the companies try to discriminate the price between different segments of the customers, then they can generate more profit. For example, so they are selling different quantities at different prices to different customers by slightly differentiating the product, or maybe based on the timing. For example, many airlines give the same tickets at different prices based on the time of booking, etc. So due to that price discrimination, they are able to capture more market, they are able to produce more quantity, and they are able to sell at different prices. See this 50 quantity at different price, this quantity, the rest amount, in this case 60, at different price, and this 80 is at different price. So because of that, the profit earned is going to be all these three blocks, the total area, which is going to be 3200. So if we compare, the total profit increases because of price discrimination. So when the company is not doing price discrimination, it is selling the product at one particular price, there are certain players, certain customers who are not able to buy at that particular price, and the company cannot reduce the price for everyone because it cannot afford it, it is below the marginal cost. So it can reduce for certain amount of customers or a different segment of customers. Discrimination could be based on any factor, for example time or quality, etc. That will give us more profit as compared to the single price mechanism. So perfect price discrimination is efficient because charges each consumer the maximum amount which the consumer is willing to pay for each unit. So we are able to reach different kind of consumers who are willing to pay different amount for each unit. There is no deadweight loss while we are doing price discrimination. Produce same quantity as perfect competition. So even though it was a case of monopoly, the quantity can be increased to the level of perfect competition, and in this case there is no consumer surplus because all the surplus has been gained by the company. Entire surplus goes to the producer. So this is more efficient situation. Now let us compare monopoly and perfect competition. So for perfect competition, we are going to produce more quantity and a lesser price. For monopoly, we are going to produce less quantity and at a higher price. So because of that, there will be two situations. First is when we are comparing with marginal cost. So this amount is deadweight loss, which is not gained by any player. And the second, this part is consumer surplus at monopoly price and monopoly quantity. Now let us look at the next slide. Natural monopoly. So this can occur in many different situations. For example, when the average total cost declines as the output is increasing, that can also create economy of scale, which could be natural monopoly situation due to entry barrier. Second, if the fixed cost is very high for that particular industry, that is also an entry barrier and it could cause a situation of natural monopoly. When the marginal cost, the cost of producing one extra unit is lower, that will also contribute to natural monopoly situation. For example, the utilities market. Let us look at the another concept, the regulation of monopolies. When the government knows that there is a monopoly situation in one kind of market, it can suggest average cost pricing, in which the price is to be reduced where average total cost intersects the market demand curve. In this case, the output will be increased and the social welfare, since the consumers will be able to get the product easily, and the economic profit of the companies is going to be zero. Another way is when there is marginal cost pricing, in which the price is reduced even further where marginal cost is intersecting demand curve. There the companies are going to make losses. So to compensate for that, the companies should be provided a government subsidy where the marginal cost is less than average total cost. In those situations, the companies, if they are following marginal cost pricing, they should get government subsidy to survive. Let us look at the curve. In this situation, when the company is selling at average cost, this difference is the economic profit gained by the company. If the company is selling at average cost itself, there will be no profit. If the company is selling at a higher price than average cost, then there will be economic profit. So in this case, if the price is PAC, price equal to PAC, there will be no economic profit. But if it is sold at lower price, which is equal to the marginal cost, then there is going to be economic loss. So this will contribute to the economic loss. Now let us move to the next concept, which is the supply function in different kind of market structure. Let us look at the perfect competition first. In the case of perfect competition, the marginal cost curve is above the average variable cost, and the total quantity or the market supply is going to be sum of the quantity by different market participants. But if we look at the other market structures, monopolistic competition, oligopoly and monopoly, in which we cannot have a well-defined supply function, we cannot construct the quantity based on a function of price. So the supply is driven by the intersection of marginal revenue and marginal cost, and the price is going to be determined by the demand curve. Let us look at the next slide. Identifying market structure. So market structure can be identified by price elasticity of demand. If the demand is inelastic, that is, even by increasing the price, the quantity consumed does not fall. That is an inelastic market, which indicates a market power, which is monopoly. Since the players are not afraid to increase price and are expecting that demand will not fall, so that is how they have market power or monopoly. So analysts need to estimate both demand and supply in order to find out the structure. Now, how to estimate the price elasticity? There are many methods. First is regression analysis, or if we are doing in a time series data, it should be a time series analysis. It requires a large number of observations in order to determine the relationship. But if it includes the data from a large period, then the coefficient will be unstable, since the market structure may have changed over the period. Then we can have regression analysis based on the cross-section data. This also requires substantial data gathering. But if we change the number of independent variables, the results will change dramatically. So that has to be selected carefully. Now let us move to the next slide. The limitations of concentration market. To measure the concentration, we have N firm concentration ratio, which is nothing but the sum of percentage market shares of N largest firms in the industry. So if we want to know what kind of concentration of players is there in the market, so we can have N firm concentration ratio. For example, we have 3 firm concentration ratio. Suppose there are many firms A, B, C, D, E, F in the market, and their market share is, for example, 20%, 12%, 8%, 7%, 5%, and so on. So 3 firm concentration ratio is going to be 20 plus 12 plus 8, which is 40%. That is, top 3 firms hold 40% of the market share. So this gives us some idea about how large or how small are the firms in the market. So this method is very simple to calculate. This is the advantage. So if there is a situation of perfect competition, then automatically these percentages of market share for one particular firm is going to be very less, and ideally it will be close to 0%, the N firm ratio. The top 3 firm or top 5 firm are going to have very small percentage of market share, so that will indicate perfect competition. So the lower ratios indicate competitive market and higher ratios indicate oligopoly. For example, this was a case of oligopoly. And if it is a monopoly, then 100% share will be with the top company. So N firm ratio is going to be 100%. Disadvantage of this mechanism is, one, it ignores if there are entry barriers or no, and it also is unaffected by mergers of companies. So these are 2 main disadvantages. Now let us look at another mechanism to measure the concentration of the market. This is HHI, or Herfindahl-Hirschman index. This also measures the concentration of the market. This is slightly more complicated than the previous N firm concentration ratio. Here HHI is calculated by sum of squared market shares of N largest firm in the market. So instead of just summing them up, we are taking squares of them. In this, if there are many large firms, so the square of that will give more weightage to it. So this ratio is going to be very low if there is a perfect competition. Same case as in the N firm concentration ratio. 0.1 to 0.18 is considered to be moderately competitive, and if it is more than 0.18, it is considered to be uncompetitive market, and it is going to be 1 or 100% for the monopoly situation. The advantages are, it is more sensitive to mergers than N firm ratio. If the 2 companies are merging together, the size becomes higher. Then since we are doing square of the ratio or the percentage, That makes it more sensitive to mergers. And this is very common. It is widely used by market regulators to find out the situation of competition in the market. Disadvantages is, again, it does not pay any attention to entry barriers. And the second main disadvantage is it does not consider demand elasticity. That has brought us to the end of the topic. Let us take a few questions here.